Don't tell me the economy is bad. Clearly, there's a lot of money to burn in America. The last 7 NBA rookies of the year, none of them have spent a day in the G League. And Bronny right now is a G League player. So the Democrats should use this during the national convention. The Bronny Index. I'm Joe Biden. I approve this message. Look how good our economy is. People are betting on Bronny to win Rookie of the Year. Flights are packed. We all got big screens, and everybody's betting on Bronny. And an inconceivable award he has no chance to win. That's a strong economy. But it also really speaks to how absolutely dreadful this draft was. The number 2 pick, Alex Sarr from France, is 1 for 21 in his last 2 games with 2 points. He's the number 2 pick. 0 for 7 on threes. He's not a prospect. He's an IKEA manual. You open up the box. Is this from Sweden? Did they send me all the parts? He's below a prospect. He's been awful. And he's the number 2 pick. And this illustrates why I defended the Lakers and LeBron James and Clutch Sports. I mean, they had some leverage, did Clutch Sports. I'd be careful about using it every time I have it. But this is no big deal. This is not worth all the grifters on the internet and bad actors losing sleep. It's a bad draft. The players drafted above him are G Leaguers. The players drafted below him are G Leaguers. And the number 2 draft pick, Alex Sarr from France, has been absolutely offensively terrible. So, and for the record, Bronny actually and Dalton Connect, the other Laker rookie, both had a really good game yesterday. And Bronny finished with 13 points on 50% shooting. So he's had back-to-back pretty good games. Bronny has, not the number 2 pick. He's had terrible games. Bronny's actually had back-to-back pretty good shooting games. So I don't think he's a natural, fluid offensive player. I don't think he ever will be great. My take, though, isn't necessarily the shooting. It's that he's a 6'1.5" player who doesn't play point. So if he improves his ball handling and can bring the floor up even occasionally for the Lakers and play excellent defense, he had a couple blocks yesterday, I think Bronny could stick at the end of a bench or, like a 7, 8, 9, 10 player. Not going to get tons of minutes, but a defensive player, if he can bring the ball up the floor, his shooting will get better. It almost always does for young players. Very few guys come out of college as dead-eye shooters. Almost nobody, especially at the NBA three-point range, almost nobody. So, but here's what I will bet. I will not bet on Bronny James winning Rookie of the Year, but I will bet the 2 or 3 players drafted right before him, the 52nd, 53rd, 54th, and the 2 or 3 players drafted after him, the 56th, the 57th, the 58th, will all be inconsequential in 3 years of the NBA. Everybody, you can make money now on Twitter /X, whatever you want to call it. And there are a lot of people, that's how they make their money. Grifting, conspiracy theories. They do it on their podcasts. They do it on their platforms. This was never a big deal. In an absolutely dreadful draft, if he's a bottom-of-the-bench rotational player, welcome to the 2024 55th, 56th, 53rd pick in the NBA draft. You know the economy's good when people are flush with money to bet that, J-Mac. Flush with money.
The dumb money, huh? He's got no chance, 0 chance to win the award. None.
Yeah. Well, he's not going to get enough minutes to do it. So,
right. Yeah, he's got none. No
and even in bad drafts, there will be probably an international player, I would guess, picked like 9th or 13th. I mean, remember where Giannis was drafted, and about 3 years later, you're like, oh, he's put on 25, 35 pounds and became, So there'll be players out of this draft, but it's a developmental draft. It is a prospect and IKEA manual draft. Below it's what architects give you that kind of layout.
Yeah.
The blueprint. It's a blueprint draft below a prospect.
But did you hear the roar when he's making shots in Vegas? I mean, it is a deafening roar. You don't hear that in a summer league game.
I did a TikTok rant yesterday.
Oh.
Just on Bronny. And it got over 1 million people. And it wasn't some definitive rant. It wasn't funny. It was just kind of some thoughts on Bronny. on my TikTok, and this morning the staff said, yeah, those Bronny things really pop. And that goes to show you that when you get to be in this draft where the Lakers drafted, their first draft pick, by the way, was a veteran college player in Los Angeles. It's the Herd, wherever you may be, and however you may be listening. Thanks for making us part of your day. We'll check in on the USA Olympic basketball team. Some news on Bronny James. Bad news for one former NFL legend. Dallas Cowboys in a bit of a bind. I'm not sure they know it yet. Tomorrow's headlines today with J Mac. We've had a really good week. A lot of good guests. A lot of interesting stuff. Eric Musselman was great in the last hour yesterday. College coach, former NBA coach. J Mac. So, when Bill Belichick only really interviewed with the Atlanta Falcons, the take was, what? And Belichick's allies around the league all said, you got to be kidding me. Atlanta is the only team that considered him. But I saw something today which the rest of the league is seeing, and this could explain a little bit about the fear of hiring Belichick. So Bucky Brooks works for us. FoxSports.com did an article. It's a great article on the 10 best current rosters in the NFL. And the rosters are, and I pretty much agree, up and down, pretty close. Niners, Eagles, Chiefs, top 3. Lions, Texans, Ravens, Dolphins, Jets, Cowboys, Browns. We can argue back and forth. But the Houston Texans at number 5 is absolutely terrible for Bill Belichick. Because that franchise was a joke in the league. And then Nick Caserio, who was the director of personnel in New England, took the job 3.5 years ago and has crushed the draft and crushed free agency. In 3 drafts, Houston now is a top 5 roster from a bottom 3 roster. Joke to playoff team in Houston. They just added a star edge, a star running back, and a star wide receiver in free agency. He has made almost no mistakes, Nick Caserio. He may have missed on an offensive lineman in 3 drafts. That's it. Yet New England's last 6 drafts, of which Caserio was in the building for a few of those, several of those, probably last 7 drafts, have all been putrid for New England. So either Nick Caserio suddenly got brilliant when he got on a plane and flew to Houston, or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 of those drafts, because he was in New England for years, and the drafts kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse when Caserio was there. So either he got brilliant once he got on an airplane and flew to Houston, or Bill Belichick trumped all of his advice, would not listen, and took over the drafts, which I was told Bill was prone to do in mid-January, early February. I got it from here. Because New England's draft, and Caserio was part of many of those, were awful. Now he goes to Houston, and they're all great. I mean, there's an argument outside of maybe Green Bay. Who drafts better the last 3 years than Houston? Who's done a better job in free agency than Houston? And they had bad ownership. New England had great ownership. They had no momentum. New England had all the momentum in the world. This is an indictment on Belichick. He didn't get very few interviews because he can't coach. But as he is aged, stubborn, rigid, only wants to coach certain people, and he craves power. This is what a Popovich craves later years. A Belichick craves. A Tony La Russa craves. The older coaches, they've got the legacy. They've got a ring or 2 or 6. And they got the money. So if everybody's wondering, why can't Bill get the job? It's not about the teams. It's about Bill's unwillingness to work with others. Everybody knows he's a great coach. Best defensive coach of all time. That's not the question. So everybody's blaming the teams and the owners of the teams that pass on him. It's not about that. It's about Bill's potential unwillingness to just coach, and that is it. That list with Houston as a top 5 roster, and I don't doubt it, is an indictment on Belichick and nobody else. So this is funny. Bronny James has become the most popular betting pick for Rookie of the Year.